Welcome to Chemistry Simplified. We will continue with our series, Introduction to Organic Chemistry, and this is part 7. And in today's presentation, we'll be talking about nomenclature of branch chain alkanes. So we'll learn how to name alkanes. So if you have not watched our previous presentation where we lay down the rules for naming alkanes, you should watch it before you watch this one here. Let's look at example number 1. Let's say you were given this structure and you were to ask for its IUPAC name. So let's bring the skeletal structure. So first one was the condensed structure, and the second one, where we don't see the hydrogen, we call that the skeletal structure. Step 1 is to find the longest continuous chain of carbon. We draw a line to all of the carbons without lifting it, and we see we have this one is left over, so is this one. So these two, we refer to them as substituents or branches, the one that are left over. Step number 2 is to number the longest chain. So number 1, number 2, number 3, and number 4. 4 carbons is butane. Remember, we could always number from left to right or right to left. So this leftover or branch or substituent has only one carbon. It's a methyl. Since it's on carbon number 2, we say this is 2-methyl. The other branch is on carbon number 3, and it's also a methyl. So we say 3-methyl. Now, since we have the word methyl twice, according to the rules, we gotta use the prefix di. So we would name this one 2,3-dimethyl butane. Example number 2. Let's try to name this one here. Step 1. Find the longest continuous chain of carbon. We'll go through as many carbons as possible. Now, this one is a little tricky. If you look on the bottom, we have 2 more carbons left. So it's best if we do this instead. We go down and cover both carbons. That will be the longest continuous chain. Next, we need to number the carbon. Number 1, number 2, number 3, 4, 5, and 6, 7. And 7 carbons is referred to as heptane. Now, the substituent or branch for this one, if you were to number it from left to right, would be on carbon number 5. Remember that substituent would be on carbon number 5. So we would call this one 5-methyl, right? It's a methyl because it's a 1 carbon substituent and it's located on carbon number 5. However, let's start to name it from right to left as well, because remember, it doesn't matter. Whichever one provides us with the best answer, with the lowest number for the substituent, that's what we have to use. That's why we have to number it from left to right and right to left. Carbon number 2, carbon number 3, 4, carbon number 5, 6, 7. Remember, it's still heptane. However, the substituent now is on carbon number 3. So this is a 3-methyl. So 3 is better, is lower than 5. So therefore, we're going to use 3-methyl instead of 5-methyl to name it. That's one of the rules that we went over in our last presentation. So the name for this structure is 3-methyl heptane. Example number 3. Let's try to name this one here. Step number 1 is to find the longest continuous chain. When we get here, we could go up to cover those 2 carbons, or we could move down. It's the same thing. It does not make any difference. So therefore, we move downward and then up here. So this is the longest continuous chain. And this would be a substituent or branch. And this would be another substituent. Step number 2 is to number the longest chain. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have a total of 6 carbons in the longest continuous chain. So that would be hexane. Now we look at the substituent is on carbon number 2. That substituent only has 1 carbon, so that's a methyl. Since it's on carbon number 2, we say this is 2-methyl. The other substituent is on carbon number 4, and this substituent has 2 carbons, so therefore this is ethyl. Since it's on carbon number 4, we say 4-ethyl. Now to name it, we have to use alphabetical order. Ethyl start with E, is before methyl in the alphabet, so therefore we're going to start by naming it 4-ethyl. To methyl hexane. Example number 4. Let's try to name this one here. Step number 1, find the longest carbon chain. This is our longest continuous chain. And this would be a branch. And that's another branch. So we could see both branches are located on the same carbon. Step number 2 is to number the longest chain. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we know that 5 carbon would be named as pentane. Now let's take a look at the substituent. This is the first substituent we see. It only has 1 carbon, so it's a methyl. It's on carbon number 3, so we're going to call it 3-methyl. The other substituent is on the same carbon, but it has 2 carbons. That makes it. So it's an ethyl. Since it's on carbon number 3 as well, we're going to call it 3-ethyl. Right, just like we did previously, we have to use the alphabetical order to name it. So ethyl is before methyl in the alphabet. So we're going to start by naming it 3-ethyl. 3-methylpentane because they're both on the same carbon, so we repeat the number of that carbon twice. So the name is 3-methylpentane. This is all we have for you for today. Please remember to like, subscribe, and share, and use the comment section to let us know if you had found the presentation to be useful. Thank you. Have a great day. Bye bye.